Pokemon Sword and Shield isn't all bad. I've been quite critical when it comes to Sword and Shield. The reason behind this criticality is because Sword and Shield has the potential to be the best Pokemon titles in existence. Unfortunately, this potential is currently being squandered for a myriad of reasons. However, the purpose of this video is to acknowledge and celebrate what Sword and Shield has accomplished up to this point. The Wild area introduces a lot of cool new ideas that were not implemented in any other previous Game Freak Pokemon titles. The inspiration behind the Wild area is the idea of an open world concept for Pokemon that fans of the franchise have dreamed of ever since the Game Boy games. The Wild area, however, is as its name implies. It's only a single area, and certain mechanics within the Wild area, like the controllable camera, do not extend to the rest of the game outside of this area. They are confined only to the Wild area. Sword and Shield is not an open world game, but the idea is entertained with the implementation of the Wild area. I'm excited to see what further developments may be achieved in future generations to follow. I mentioned it briefly, but the controllable camera is a nice addition to the Pokemon franchise, even if only accessible in one area. Having properly scaled models of the Pokemon in the overworld does a great job at establishing, well, the scale of the world. The dynamic weather system of the Wild area attracting certain types of Pokemon is a really nice touch. The bike having the ability to traverse water now is actually a fantastic addition. It will make exploration much more enjoyable and seamless due to not having to open up a menu whenever you want to surf on the water. Also, having the ability for your friends to join you in the overworld within the Wild area looks really fun. I'm also a fan of having wild Pokemon visible within the overworld as opposed to just random encounters. I like how the player character reacts to the weather environment, and you can also see the character's breath when it's cold. These two features were carried over from Sun and Moon, and I'm glad to see them return. The player character designs are, okay, but there were some character designs that were really well received. These designs inspire and promote human creativity. There really is no equal when it comes to the human ingenuity inspired by waifus. A lot of the human characters have some really nice, expressive animations that exude personality. Speaking of animations, there are some examples of older Pokemon receiving updated and/or entirely new animations. The animation Machoke used in the overworld is similar to the one found in Sun and Moon, except he has his head tilted up. When in battle, Machoke has an additional animation of his mouth opening. Machoke's arms come down diagonally, he tilts his head back and opens his mouth. This animation of Weavile is completely new. Same with Clefable and Dugtrio. Quagsire in Sword and Shield raises its arms into the air when it opens its mouth, as opposed to lowering its arms towards its stomach. These animations for the older Pokemon, both new and updated, are very exciting, and I hope to see many more as we near the launch of the game. Sword and Shield has some nice looking visual effects. Many people like to show these off to support their claim that Sword and Shield have high quality animations, but these visual effects have absolutely nothing to do with Pokemon model animations at all, and they don't enhance inherent Pokemon expression. They are, however, very good at conveying the power of the attacks, and seem to deliver a solid, satisfying impact when they land. There are also some physical attacks that look great, like Flame Charge and Giga Impact. The single best animation revealed by Game Freak so far for Sword and Shield is this, Scorbunny's idle animation. It is extremely expressive, energetic, and does a great job at conveying what kind of Pokemon Scorbunny is. Here are some examples of other great animations. With all new generations comes new Pokemon, and obviously I'm a fan of newly discovered Pokemon species. I made a tier list of the new Pokemon designs and I will go through each of them very quickly. So at the very top we have Corviknight. People either love it or hate it based on its edginess, but I personally think it's a really solid design overall, and it's definitely a Pokemon that I would consider putting on my own team. Next up we got Roly-Coly, which is an awesome name by the way. Roly-Coly's concept also really complements its design. It's a clump of coal on a wheel that gets faster when hit by fire type attacks. Genius. I'm really curious to see what it will evolve into. The next tier contains the bulk of Pokemon. I don't hate these designs, they're just okay. Gossifleur is just another grass type. Eldegoss is okay, but I prefer Jumpluff. I like Dreadnought's design up until you reach its face. I'm not really a fan of the blockhead. I would prefer if the head was more animalistic, but other than that it looks pretty good. Snapping turtles are also really cool. Sobble, Grookey, and Scorbunny are okay. I always pick my starter based on the final evolution, and I typically go with the fire type, but we haven't had a good fire type since Gen 4 with Infernape, so we'll see. Wooloo is just a sheep. And when I think of sheep Pokemon, I think of Mareep. And in my opinion, Mareep has a way better design than Wooloo, so Wooloo's just okay. Alcremie is a cream Pokemon, but that concept was already explored with Slurpuff, so it doesn't really add anything new in that department. Its design overall, though, is okay. I wasn't a fan of Zacian or Zamazenta when they were first revealed, but they've grown on me a little bit. A Sword Doggo and a Shield Doggo. They're okay. I was never really a dog person, I personally prefer cats, so yeah. Yamper is just a Corgi. Okay. Again, I'm not really a dog person, so it doesn't really pull at my heartstrings like I'm sure it does with other people. The only two designs that I'm really not a fan of are Duraludon and Impidimp. There's just so much wrong with Duraludon, I don't even know really where to start. Its overall design is just really awkward, and I guess the best way to explain it is just to show what I would prefer Duraludon to look like. Duraludon is supposed to be the arch nemesis of Tyranitar, but I don't really get that impression from it. As for Impidimp, I'm not a fan of the name, the noodle appendages, the Miley Cyrus tongue, or the wings on the back of his head. I am a fan of its unique Dark Fairy typing, so maybe its evolution will sway me. As for what I'll be looking forward to, I'm always a fan of the Pokemon music, they always do a really good job at that, so I'll be looking forward to some new tracks. I also love learning of new type combinations. I personally really want a fire grass type. I thought for sure we were going to get one in the Hawaiian-based region, but it wasn't meant to be. Hopefully that's not the case this generation. Anyways, you guys, that about wraps up my thoughts on everything that Sword and Shield does right so far. Remember that criticism doesn't necessarily mean that a game is bad, it just means that the game needs work. So when I criticize Sword and Shield, I'm not saying that the game is bad, it just means that the source of my criticism needs a little bit more work. Also, when I criticize Sword and Shield, that doesn't mean that I hate Pokemon, Game Freak, or Sword and Shield. When I criticize Sword and Shield, it means that I want the games to be the best that they can possibly be, and I'm confident that Game Freak is both capable and competent enough to make that happen. Also, just because you praise a game doesn't necessarily mean that it will be good. Only time will tell how Pokemon Sword and Shield plays out. Thanks for watching, you guys.